What the hell's going on? We had an interview with the showrunner of the Disney Star Wars, The Acolyte, Leslie Headland, where she joked about The Acolyte being the gayest Star Wars yet, and now according to her, R2-D2 is apparently a lesbian. Yes, that R2-D2, the droid who spoke exclusively in beeps. Now, taking a lesbian to be a human woman who's romantically attracted exclusively to other human women, R2-D2 is not human. Nor a woman, but after looking, there is some evidence R2 may be into Asian girls. Can't fault him, and I'm not sure anyone, man or woman, is quite ready for what R2 can do to human biology with his rotating SCOMP-link computer interface. And there's a geeky joke if ever I heard one. Who knows what R2-D2 is attracted to? R2 speaks exclusively in beeps. Maybe R2 is bi, as in runs on binary code, or maybe R2 is aromantic and not attracted to anyone on the grounds of being a droid. And cue the lead of The Acolyte, Amanda Stenberg, coming out to say something nasty about white people, and I don't get it.
What's the hate you give? What do you want them to walk away with? Because I know everyone has a slightly different feeling.
Well, I mean, white people crying actually was the goal.
Why would you want to upset people? Why would you want to upset your own audience? It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it works out for them.
Oh, absolutely. I like to make men uncomfortable. I enjoy making men uncomfortable.
And why would you want to make people uncomfortable? You're not describing entertainment there, you're describing a struggle session. Also, The Acolyte, retconning the Force in Star Wars, I understand, is coming next episode. And we have a bit of a pattern here, don't we? Because I could almost be talking about Doctor Who with that description. Make everything really gay.
We won the game. You got a prize, honey. Here is mine.
A gay musical called Gay. That's quite gay.
Hollow it out, pitch it at children, and use as a Trojan horse for your politics. Retcon decades of lore, and then have the star come out and say something discriminatory. But it's fine if it's about white people. Now, I don't care if you're gay. I just don't want to spend the time I used to watch entertainment watching you be gay. I like action movies, just not that kind of action.
You're not comfortable with your sexuality?
Oh, I'm very comfortable with my sexuality. I just don't want to be slapped in the face with their sexuality.
When in the comedy The IT Crowd, they had the group go to a musical called Gay. You Hollywood writers know that was a joke, right? It wasn't supposed to be aspirational for what to turn Doctor Who and Star Wars into. I also don't want to spend my time watching you telling me about you being gay, or you writing self-insert stories about you being gay. I'm just not interested. As a kid watching Star Wars, I just kind of liked the space battles and the John Williams music. It was good music. It was heavily inspired by The Planet Suite by Gustav Holst. I didn't realise you were going to rewrite Lando as wanting to do his droid. This is frankly getting really boring. Sci-fi is a genre with almost endless scope. You can write almost anything, but the writers of these shows don't seem able to take their eyes off of their own junk. And it's the same tedious playbook every single time. Rewrite history so it sounds like you're breaking new ground, like this story from The Eye, which is essentially The Independent again. Doctor Who Rogue Review. The Doctor's first gay snog is groundbreaking TV. Quote, the real star of the episode is the eponymous Rogue, a brooding bounty hunter played by dashing American Broadway star Jonathan Groff. His mission is to hunt down the Chulda and bring them to justice. What he finds instead is a sweeping romance, one that ends with him on the receiving end of the Doctor's first same-sex kiss. Or at least his first proper snog. So it's not new ground they hadn't kissed another man, is it? Because you already did that back in 2005. But this was the first snog. So come back in another 20 years for Doctor Who giving his first handy round the back of the TARDIS. But I do quite like sci-fi, and I did quite like these IPs at some point. But what made me change my mind? Well, the shows changed, didn't they? It's like having a favourite brand of cereal, say Kellogg's Frosties, and then one day they change the recipe. So instead of the way they were and the way you liked, they now taste of Leslie Headland's genitals.
I don't want it.
And then when I stop buying them, you call me a homophobe and tell me I'm entitled for not being interested in your fishy cereal. That is essentially what's been done with Doctor Who and Star Wars at this point. And who's the entitled one here? Me, who's just going to go and watch something else? Or you, who think you're owed an audience no matter what you put out and the lack of quality in it, and then cue the gaslighting? If you've not noticed it yet, the gaslighting tends to follow this rough sequence. Start changing something and then step 1, pretend it's not happening. You carry on like that for a while as you change it more and more. Then step 2, admit, yeah, it's happening, but it's not a big deal. And then carry on changing it until step 3, it's a good thing it's changed actually. Then step 4, claim that people that don't like the change are the real problem. George R.R. Martin, the writer of Game of Thrones, wrote an article on his website recently called The Adaptation Tango, and in that he said, quote, "Everywhere you look, there are more screenwriters and producers eager to take great stories and, quote, make them their own. It does not seem to matter whether the source material was written by Stan Lee, Charles Dickens, Ian Fleming, Roald Dahl, Ursula K. Le Guin, J.R.R. Tolkien, Mark Twain, Raymond Chandler, Jane Austen, or well, anyone. No matter how major a writer it is, no matter how great the book, there always seems to be someone on hand who thinks he can do better, eager to take the story and, quote, improve on it. The book is the book, the film is the film, they will tell you, as if they were saying something profound. Then they make the story their own. They never make it better though. 999 times out of 1,000, they make it worse. For me, what he said there applies to series like The Witcher, where in places it's gone so far away from the books it's barely even an adaptation. And I think it extends further than he goes in this article. I think the same thing applies to franchises people are trying to write new stories for. I noticed some years ago with games, every time a game series I liked had a new version coming out, and it was described in the press as, quote, streamlined for a modern audience, it would be terrible. It would have less content and features than the previous entries, and the same thing seems to apply to series. The people that take over the franchises don't even seem to like them. They sometimes claim they do, then set about massively changing the original story. Is it that they just want to use the name?
Not the pastime. Kill it if you have to.
Or is it that? I watched shows like Velma, Doctor Who, The Rings of Power, Star Wars, and it's like they're trying to destroy the franchises. Another common motif is to go for prequels, because they allow the new writers to reframe and change the original work. Sure, Doctor Who presented as a white guy from the UK for around 55 years straight, no pun intended. Not very surprising, it's a show from the UK. Then suddenly, that became not good enough. No longer would the Doctor be judged by the content of his character, but instead by the colour of his skin, and the canon was rewritten in the form of prequel content, and now the Doctor was a proud black woman first. Progress. Progress at all costs. What are we actually progressing towards? Nobody knows or agrees. Don't ask. Do the changes actually improve the story or do they make it worse? Don't ask. What are you, a regressive? What are Doctor Who and Star Wars actually progressing towards? On current form, they're progressing towards being cancelled. But oh no, it all has to go. Everything has to be sacrificed to the never-ending drumbeat of progress towards nothing.
Of course!
Never rub another man's rhubarb.